Hello, everyone. You hear me? I think so, right? My name is Caroline Adian, and I am new to the parish, and I just want to tell you about my experience coming and being a new person coming to Notre Dame. I moved to Morristown about a year ago. I lived in Short Hills for 24 years. I belong to St. Rose of Lehman, Short Hills, was very active there, raised my kids there. I'm recently divorced and I moved to Morristown, and I was sort of looking for a new faith community. And so I literally Googled like Catholic churches Morristown, and 4 or 5 came up. And so I started to go to Mass at different churches because I felt like I wanted to see what the experience was like at different parishes. So I went to Assumption, right over in that, I live on that side of Morristown. I went to St. Virgil's. I went to St. Margaret of Scotland. And then I came here. I think the first time I was here was in May. And you know, they all had things about those churches that I liked. I went to Assumption a couple times. I took my daughter. I have 1 daughter still at home and 2 that are out of the house or in college and beyond. And so when I went to Assumption a couple times because it was the closest one. And my next door neighbor is like the head of the finance council and like hounds me every time I see him. Like, have you joined yet? Have you joined Assumption yet? And I said, no. So anyway, so I came here in May. I came to the 10:30 Mass, and I walked in the doors downstairs, and it happened to be Name Tag Sunday. And the first person I am fortunate to say that I met was Christina at the table, and I went over to get a name tag, and I gave her my name, and I said, well, I'm new here. And she said, oh my gosh, you're new? Oh my gosh. So let me just take you upstairs and show you around. And again, it was like 10:25. And so she took me upstairs, showed me the worship space, where the main, where the masses are, where the kids section is, where the bathrooms are, and also the welcoming table or the hospitality table, that desk up there. So, and she said, there are cards here. You can take a card, fill it out, and leave it, and we will get in touch, and we'll just be in touch about, being new to the parish. So I filled out the card. I went to Mass. And the first thing I loved was, first of all, I love a name tag. I just love name tags. I never can remember anyone's name, so I thought that was great. And then I loved that, I don't remember if it was Father Patty or Father John that said the Mass, but where he said, please, welcome everybody around you and keep them in mind pray for them during Mass today. And I just thought that was so lovely. And then the music was great. The choir was terrific, and I just thought the piano and the percussion, I was like, wow, this is amazing. So I loved the music, and I felt very welcomed and very warm. It just felt very warm. And so I was leaving Mass, and I think I saw Christina again for a minute, and we talked for a few minutes, and she said, what, I'm going to call you. And I said, great. I left my name and my email, and she said I was going to email me. And so I got home, and like an hour later, Christina called me. And I was like, oh my gosh, wow. And she said to me, I'm really calling because I do want to, I want to talk to you, but also, you wrote, I tried to send you an email, and the address was wrong, so I thought I would call. So she and I got into a whole conversation about, and I told her, I said, I can't believe how lovely it was to be so warmly welcomed at, Notre Dame this morning. And I haven't really felt that elsewhere, and I thought it was great. And we talked a little bit more about the parish. And she told me some very personal stuff about herself and her family. And, I told her that I had been recently divorced, and I was also sort of looking for a support group for, for divorced Catholics. Not easy to find. So anyway, we talked for a long time, and then, she sent me an email and followed up and gave me the name of the people that run the divorce support group here. Patty Torres, and Mike. Patty and Mike is how I name you. Anyway, so it was just so nice that I got, she put me in touch with them. I talked to Patty. Patty called me back, told me all about, and was very, really effusive about how great Notre Dame is, and gave me a lot of details about the support group that they were starting again in September. And so it was such an overwhelming experience to feel so welcomed. And I joined that support group, and it's here, it's 12 weeks, and it's here on Wednesday nights in the basement, across the street from Alpha, across the hallway from Alpha, which seems to be quite a group down there, the whole thing felt very warm and welcoming. But what so impressed me, and I am like a lifelong, not super devout Catholic, but pretty dedicated Catholic, and I've been to a lot of different churches, and I could not believe how warm the welcome was here. And I think that in part, you know, I mean, I was lucky to get Name Tag Sunday and to have Christina Folan be the first person I met, but you know, that could have been anybody, anyone else in the welcoming committee. And I just was so happy that I was able to connect with Christina and then afterwards with the support group. And so it's been a great experience, and I come to the 10:30 Mass when I can and love the music. And I also love that even at almost every Mass, you know, we turn around and say hello to the people behind us and in front of us, and I feel like and I'm like creature of habit. I sit in the same pew. I think I sat in the same pew at St. Rose for 20 years, and I'm only here for, you know, a couple of months, and I think I'm in the same spot every Sunday. But it's nice to get to know the people around you. You know, it's just sort of the way it is, right? So anyway, I just wanted to share that experience with all of you to, you know, let you know that it is so important to not just have a welcoming ministry, because I think every parish does, but just the way that it, you know, unfolded, where Christina called me, and, you know, just the different touch points, and, you know, Patty Torres has been great. It's been very nice to have those different touch points, and I just have felt very welcome here, and I'm very happy to be here.
Laura Balog is the new Faith Formation Director since late August, and she and I have been members of the parish for probably just a few weeks. So I wanted to share some of my experiences. Can everyone hear me?
Yes.
Perfect. And I need a list because I have a terrible memory. Well, I think my experience here is a little different, probably much different than Caroline's. I don't come here from another parish. I didn't have a parish before this. So let me explain. I was born and raised a Catholic. I was baptized, I was confirmed, I went to Mass every Sunday with my parents. But after I graduated from college and got a job at Bell Laboratories in Whippany, where I worked for almost 30 years, surrounded by engineers and scientists, my faith dwindled. And I left the church. I stopped going to church. And basically, I stopped going to church. I considered myself an atheist for a good part of those 30 years. Maybe an agnostic if there's really any difference, but the point was I was very confused, and I stopped going to church. So, but throughout these 30 years, I felt something was always missing. So I dabbled with Zen, Buddhism, Taoism, yoga, you name it. I got into everything, but nothing stuck, nothing. In May of this year, my wife, who over a long period of time tried to get me back to church, and I was just stubborn, I wouldn't do it. She introduced me to the videos of Bishop Robert Barron, and those were very instrumental in sort of opening my heart once again. So I started, he was a very smart guy. I watched almost every video he ever put out. And by the way, I have Blu-rays if anybody wants to borrow those. So I started thinking about Catholicism again, but this time with the years of life experience behind me, and it started making sense in different ways. But I still wasn't going to church. I said, no, that's okay. I told Laura, have fun, go to church. I'll see you when you get home. Fast forward to September 29th of this year, 10:30 a.m. Mass, Name Tag Sunday. Laura convinced me, give it a try. I want you to meet all my friends, people I work with. I said, okay, I give up. I'll go. I was skeptical, but imagine, this is the first time I'm going to church in over 30 years. So this could be like a make or break situation, right? But let me tell you about a little bit about what I saw. I saw friendly, smiling people everywhere. From the woman that manned the name tag table, to the people giving out the songbooks, to Christina, to Jean, Father Patty, who introduced himself personally to me, Father John, who I think isn't here, Mark, the choir director, people in front of me in church, people behind me in church, everybody was smiling. And I said, wow, this is unbelievable. I never saw so many smiling people at the same time in my life. I mean, maybe there's somebody hang around those engineers. So it reminded me of the quote in divine renovation. If your heart is filled with love, the love of God, please inform your face. This parish got the message. So, what else did I see? I saw children running around the baptismal fountain, screaming and laughing and slapping Father John 5. It was unbelievable. I thought maybe we took the wrong turn off exit 10 and we ended up in Chuck E. Cheese. So at the beginning of Mass, Father Patty said, turn to someone near you and introduce yourself. And I was wearing the name tag. People were calling me by my name. I said, this is amazing. So it just went on and on. One of the best parts was the end of the Mass, though. I saw donuts, Danish. I said, this is unbelievable. I felt very, very welcome. So in other churches, I've gone to Masses and funerals, you leave the church to go in peace to the parking lot. So you ingest exhaust fumes from cars, and if it's raining, it's even worse. You can't really do anything. Not here. You have this whole space where you can have fellowship and talk to people. In fact, I was thinking this parish is dripping with hospitality like my jelly donut is dripping jelly on my church. It's unbelievable. And then at one point, Laura says, you want me to show you the gift shop now? And I said, there's a gift shop? I said, where's the water park? So I think we probably left the church about 45 minutes after the Mass ended. Can you imagine that? I was in church like 90 minutes. First time after 30 years. Bottom line, I felt very, very welcome. I felt like I was part of a new family. I met dozens of people like within 90 minutes, and I almost loved all these people. It's just amazing. So I decided that day when I got home that I would return to the church, and it was thanks to a lot of people in this room. It reminds me about what Jesus said in the gospel. He said, I was hungry and you gave me something to eat, donuts. I was thirsty and you gave me something to drink, coffee. But most importantly, I was a stranger and you welcomed me, and I thank you very much for that.
October 27, 2019. Hi, Christina. I hate to bring to your attention something negative, but I had a negative experience at Mass this morning, and I think you would want to know about it. This experience does not come close to embodying the welcoming and inclusive attitude that I think this church is trying to achieve, but I felt very discriminated as a young person. This may seem like a trivial occurrence, but I can assure you that if this person had been my first contact at NDMC, instead of the welcoming presence of you, Father, and the centering prayer group, I never would have returned. I would hate for another young person to come to Mass, have a similar experience, and never come back, not knowing that many of the parishioners are in fact welcoming and inclusive people.
This is testimony from Christy, who could not be with us today. I was looking for Catholic churches in my area, and Notre Dame of Mount Carmel popped up. I decided to come to the 10:30 Mass. I arrived just as Mass was about to start, so I came right in and sat down. The first thing I noticed was that everyone was wearing a name tag except me, even the priest. How unusual, I thought, but what a great idea. What a great way to get to know people. Father told everyone to welcome people around them. I was greeted by Chris, who asked my name since I didn't have a name tag. I truly enjoyed Mass, but the unique and welcoming aspect came at the end. Chris stayed and asked if I was new to the church. Our conversation continued, and she asked me to walk with her to the hospitality desk, where she was volunteering that Sunday. I noticed so many people gathering and talking, not just filing out of church, collecting their bulletins, with minimal conversation and interaction, paying their dues and getting on with their day. No, this was different. This felt good. It felt right. Chris continued to share information about Notre Dame and told me about programs that were coming up for the Lenten season. She encouraged me to look at the website, and she gave me her personal phone number in case I had any questions. I left with a warm and wonderful feeling inside. I truly thank her for taking time for me that day. After looking into the Lenten programs, I decided to sign up for Crucial Conversations. Christina, who was running the program, reached out to me since I was not registered at the parish. She asked if I had any questions about the program. She also offered to meet with me so I could find out more about Notre Dame. Some people may feel uncomfortable about having a one-on-one conversation to get to know more about the parish, but I was impressed and pleasantly surprised that one could not just quote-unquote sign up to be a member of this church. I truly felt like I was meant to be at Notre Dame. Everything seemed to fall into place. Christina and I had a great conversation before a weekend mass, and the rest is history. I have since joined the parish. I'm now participating in Alpha, and I look forward to becoming more involved at Notre Dame. Each time I walk into the church, I feel I belong here. I feel welcome. That is all because the members of Notre Dame call me by name, and they truly know how to define welcome, to greet in glad, polite, and a friendly way, and to receive and treat someone hospitably. Jesus tells us in Matthew 25:40, whatever we do for the least of people, we do for him.